Okay, it's up and running.
Okay, so since this part of the semester connects to cultural capital or social capital, which is different from economic capital and economic values, art is a great intersection of the economic and the social. So I wanted to ask some questions about the art here and how that kind of relates to our concepts from the intro class. So who decides what is displayed? Can you speak to some of that?
Sure. I'll start with talking about the specific context of the gun gallery, and then we can look more broadly. So the gun gallery is an academic art museum, and our mission is to serve primarily the campus audiences for curricular engagement purposes, and more broadly, local community audiences. So for enjoyment, for education, and enlightenment. So who decides what's displayed here? Well, it's kind of a collaborative process among the staff. Our director was also the chief curator, so she would look for exhibitions that were curated externally, or in some cases she would curate them on her own. But always in contact with the other gallery staff. So as the curator of academic programs, I know very much about the curriculum on campus, the interests of other groups on campus and so forth, what's being taught, where the curriculum is being directed. And so we want to respond to that, and also to primarily to support that. So when an exhibition is being chosen or curated, we think about how many disciplines the artwork can speak to. And contemporary art is very interdisciplinary by nature, so it lends itself well to this type of institution. Now, there are lots of different kinds of art museums, and many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the big public institutions, museums like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, and these institutions have very different priorities. They're catering to a much broader audience, and the priorities that determine what is displayed and how, what is collected, how a collection grows. There are a lot of competing priorities in those contexts. So you have your curatorial staff, and they have the creative vision, the art historical knowledge that informs how a show is presented. But they're also speaking to and responding to collectors. You may have an exhibition in order to highlight a new acquisition or a new gift to the collection. I know right now at the Art Institute of Chicago, I just saw a show of a promised gift. So this is a gift of an entire collection of artwork, contemporary work, that was on display. And this will then go into the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago. So it gets very complex and kind of hairy at times. So what really is determining what we see, and then what creates value in art is dependent upon what oftentimes these major institutions are promoting as such. And that has a lot to do with the scholarship, but it also has to do with the economic interests of the institution and their relationships, building relationships with wealthy donors.
Interesting. Yeah, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about how art gains value and how the artists themselves also earn prestige, if that's possible.
Sure. So sometimes we all know Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, the great masters. And sometimes you'll see a major retrospective or an exhibition highlighting an artist, a historical artist who's just recently been recovered or getting new attention. That interest can be generated by market interests that then influence art historical research, or vice versa. The contemporary art world is a little more volatile and unpredictable. In order to make your way in as an artist, as a contemporary artist, you really need to have the backing of a prestigious MFA program. So if you get your MFA at Yale or Goldsmiths, for example, you're on the right track. Collectors and galleries are going to follow you. They're going to start showing your work and start helping to build your career. So a gallery can represent an artist, and that will elevate their profile. But a gallery doesn't necessarily want to promote and support an artist if that isn't guaranteed, that their artwork isn't going to sell. How does that happen? A lot of times the stars just have to align perfectly for a certain artist. And if they get a show at a major institution like the Whitney, for example, then that's going to elevate their profile, they're going to get a lot of attention, and then they're going to be collected. So market interests really can drive the success of an artist or their failure. There are some really kind of famous billionaire collectors who have been known to make or break artists' careers by collecting their work, and then if they don't like them anymore, selling it all off at a low price. And suddenly that can make the value of an artist's work and their career plummet. There's art fairs, biennial culture. You've probably heard of the Venice Biennial, Frieze Art Fair. These are big, well, the art fairs and the biennials are different. The biennials are curated, but these can really elevate the profile of contemporary artists. Art fairs are really for galleries to kind of shop the artists that they're promoting and representing.
Yeah. So saying that the value is arbitrary of a lot of pieces doesn't mean that it is false or that it doesn't matter, but it matters a lot that it's constructed through these social programs or these connections and networks that are constructed through people knowing and meeting each other and having backing of certain names and institutions, which is fascinating.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And in fact, there is a blog called The Gray Market that really highlights a lot of this, or tries to demystify the art market in the contemporary art world.
Okay, great. Yeah, because a lot of this is, again, like I said at the beginning of this recording, a perfect intersection of economic capital and value and social capital and value, and maybe answers a question that a lot of us have had walking into modern art museums and seeing pieces that we think, I can make that too.
Right.
So that's why there are those pieces in museums and galleries, and we are not.
In some cases, art is also a dialogue. It's a language. So when you see works of art that you think, oh, I could have made that,